but sometimes problems with high injury rates. And I'm not a scientist. I like to work with scientists, but I cannot teach now evidence-based medicine. But as I like to work with scientists, I like to work together with our very good, educated, and experienced staff in our club. And we together try to minimize our injury numbers with an in-house system in teamwork and with good communication, what often is the most difficult part of our work. And our aim is to have the highest availability of players for the coaching staff. And in order to recognize our main injury problems, we have an in-house surveillance system. And what I want to introduce to you is additional of the UEFA injury and illness recording system. Since 2001-2002, season UEFA injury study group collects data of the qualified Champions League clubs. Here you see some examples, and we receive back season reports, half season or yearly season reports, like you saw. Our documentation is made on form cards. On this injury cards, injury mechanisms are described and the circumstances of injuries. And there are comparable classifications of diagnosis and much more information. The same you have on illness cards in case of internal medicine problems. And in the middle, you see a muscle injury card. That is the main importance because there we have highest numbers and very difficult to prevent them. Here, some examples of the statistical evaluations we get from the UEFA. And here on the left side, I try to do it with my mouse pad here, a little bit difficult. This is a half-season report. BVB is shown here. BVB is shown. The other clubs are not named, of course. And yes, when you are there, you have no problem. Yes, you have to be aware not to get problems, which come more or less. You cannot avoid every injury, of course. That we were very lucky. And hopefully, when you are in this area, you are successful with matches too. On the right side, you see us in another season. And when you are there, you have a big problem. And of course, you have to analyze and to find out the risk factors for the high rate of injuries you had. Here, statistics we get back from the UEFA on long-term view. These are 15 seasons. The blue bars is BVB. The red line is the average of all teams in this time. And then you have the marked outliers where we were not able to reduce risk factors. Otherwise, we wouldn't have such a high number of injuries. And the leaders of the IKIS, they publish hundreds of journal articles and lectures. And here you find some: Jan Ekstrand, Hakan Bengtsen, Markus Walden, Martin Hecklung. Anna Helen is missing. She does a great job too. And the publication you see here is that over 20 years, the hamstring injury rate just increased. So we have to say, is it a poor work what we are doing with our prevention? Yes. We can explain it with high loads that are more now, of course, in the last 20 years, more sprints and more matches and more pressure and so on. But in my opinion, the outliers I showed to you before, they are responsible too for this problem what we have with the hamstrings. One moment. Can you close this window? Sorry about that. And now the question is, how can we reduce these outliers? Such publications are helpful, but coaches don't read these publications, I think. And in my opinion, we need a transfer of the little knowledge we have into a common language with coaching staff. And the head of our athletic department, Shed Forsyth, he taught me that there is a one level classification of injuries, and that is a don't do that injury. And here you see one example, big hamstring injury with central tendon involvement. And for me, these injuries often occur when coaching and medical staff together do not act sufficiently well. There are risk factors published in a lot of publication. Here, one of the ICIS group, and here you see first written lack of communication. Of course, there are the others like bad load management, lack of strength, high-speed training, lack of recovery, prevention time, residual weakness after injuries. So there are a lot of assumed risk factors, and this is good because you can find this in your team when you have high injury rates, and then directly you can try to reduce them. Here you see results of a whole don't do it season. These are muscle injuries. You know already the red line average and blue bars Borussia Dortmund. So we were very poor in this season. And I asked myself at first, what can I change? And where are the reasons? What I didn't found in publication that big risk factor can be a team doctor who is not convincing and powerful enough to minimize risk factors. The question is why? I wrote there, okay, I'm responsible for everything, but I can't decide about it because I'm not the employer of the staff of the medical department. And but complaining and whining doesn't help in football. Another thing is, of course, that if coaches change, then they normally bring a big team of athletic and scouts and analytic staff. But the doctors, we don't change with coaches. And so we need, with the new ones, time to get trust to each other. And this, of course, is another risk factor, the head coach or the head staff. This is already published too. And there, of course, the question is it helpful to blame each other? Like you see there, some communication. No, this does not help. But in my opinion, a good constructive routinely professional communication is a thing that does help. And so the consequences, in my experience, is that there is a chance when you build independent of head coaches risk management system. And it could be only one person, but in big clubs, I recommend to have one or two, or like here, I wrote 4 persons that builds this risk management team, and that work together based on facts, and that they give together one opinion to the coaching staff at recommendation and advises how to perform with the players. The risk management methods, I think all of the bigger clubs have their own system, and let's say this is secret. But like you see it here, you need to collect data, objective data, that you have as a base to take your advices and decisions. And here are some examples: strengths measurement, blood samples, where we have in pre and in-season screening, where we do baseline testing, and where we collect data, and we do monitoring on a training base, on training days base, with of course some of these screening tools too, and of course with GBS data. And then, as I said, there is an oracle of many clubs that we have to determine an individual, let's say, stress score, where we, like with this traffic light, where we can say, okay, this player is fine, green, there is no problem. The coach can give him every task to do and he will fulfill it without high risk of injury. But then the yellow one should be modified in training, and the red one is not available for training. And in-house, we try to work out and set individual limit values with biomarkers that can be easily and quickly measured to have direct and immediate benefit for the player and the coaching staff with our advices and recommendations. Another, in my opinion, very important method is, or are, the hands-on examinations by our physiotherapists and therapy before and after training and a match. It is a method where you need much experience, and sometimes these are difficult to measure, but of course a tension of a muscle or a block of a SIG joint, these are important findings in the daily routine that we take into our risk management methods. So what I can show here, this is an example where we came from with muscle injuries, a season, very bad season. And the next season, after we set up our risk management, we were already lucky that we were better. You see then here, this is the result of the next season, and here is black, the season after. So this is a result of the in-house risk management, what we have here. And as a conclusion, I recommend no bashing in between or bashing of coaches and staff members, no blaming in between. And we have to learn together one language and have then professional, respectful communication. This is a recommendation to National and International Football Association to bring us platforms, to give us platforms, to bring us together and to come together to have constructive cooperation. And to implement such a system of a risk management team, in my opinion, it's the duty of sports directors and CEOs too. I was lucky here with our sports director, Sebastian Kehl, who recognized this and built it. He did it. And yeah, this is just a service for the head coaches that is in the background. And you only need it when you have this high injury rates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Markus. Good insight into risk management and how you organize that at Borussia Dortmund. Please don't go away. In the meantime, I will get Natalia to the stage and ask you to wait a little bit in the lobby, and then we have a Q&A afterwards. So anyone who's listening in, please put your comments, your questions to Markus and also Natalia, of course, in the comments box, and we'll throw them at them after Natalia's presentation. Hi, Natalia. Welcome also to the webinar. Thank you for your time and knowing the time difference between here and Brazil. Appreciate the effort you put in to being with us. I'll get your presentation to the screen. I think you need to share it still in full. Okay, here we go. The floor is yours, Natalia. I'll see you in a bit.
Hi, Everett. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be part of that. And it's a great opportunity to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is multidisciplinary team. So thank you again. So before I get started, I would like to briefly introduce myself. So when I was a volleyball player, and when I was 17 years old, I had an ACL injury. And back to that, I decided to study physiotherapy. So I did my university. So I did my graduation at Federal University of Minas Gerais. And also I did my master's degree and PhD. At that time, I also worked as a physiotherapist at the national volleyball team. And at the same time, I was working in Minas Tennis Club, which is one of the most important clubs here in Brazil, with 1,000 athletes, 8 sports modalities. And there I was the head of sports physiotherapy. And also I was managing and leading 10 sports physios. So helped me to engage and helped me to have skills to manage people right now. And probably a lot of you know me because of my PhD study. A lot of you know this famous figure. So during this period, I also published this important paper. It was a game changer in my life. And during that period of time, I also developed an application, FAST, which also gave me a lot of management skills. And I was the first Brazilian sports PT to be part of the scientific committee of the conference prevention of the International Olympic Committee. And also I was part of the injury consensus at FIFA. And of course, I did my PhD with Eva Verhagen in Amsterdam. It was a very important period of time in my life. And when I came back to Brazil, I was the first woman to lead a multidisciplinary team, a performance and health team in football. So I will start by the end, and I will describe a little bit our MDT results, which I am really proud of that. So right now we have, at the end of the season, we achieve a lot of good KPIs. So we have strong players. And of course, I'll be talking about performance and health KPIs because we achieved 1.5 body mass on back squat, for example. Also, we have 100% of the players with great body composition. And it's interesting to talk about this because here in Brazil, it's not common to have this culture of fitness players. So sometimes we had body fat on a bad way. So right now we have 100% our player with great body composition. And also we have amazing injury results. Right now we have 40% less hamstring injuries in elite football players, 0% of re-injury rate regarding muscle injury, 40% less time loss with better rehabilitation process. We spent 8 months with no hamstring injuries, also in elite football players. And currently, we are the second Brazilian football club with less injuries, and we achieve on average of 9% availability. And also, not least important, we improve 20% of the high-speed running during this season, and also we achieve new top speed values. So I think, and I'm really passionate to show to you this because, of course, it's only possible when we have a strong multidisciplinary team. So how does a structured multidisciplinary team can speed up the performance and health results in a context of a football chaos? Of course, it's not easy because we all know that football, it looks like a VUCA world, which means that we have volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and also ambiguity, which means that we have to navigate between all the process, results, and people inside this VUCA world, which means that it's much more difficult, and we need to have this different mindset. We have to embrace chaos in order to have better results. So the way that we've been doing that, we have a clear 4 pillars. The first one is we are science-based. We have clear KPIs, so of course, we know what we need to achieve. We have anti-fragile mindset, and of course, we have a great team communication, also between our MDT team and of course, among the sporting director and also the head coach. So in our club right now, we have approximately 25 people around team performance and health teamwork. We have medicine area, psychologists, performance analysts, sports science, physiotherapy, and also nutrition. And of course, we need to work everyone on the same page, and I'm leading all this team. So the first step that we need to do in order to find order in football chaos is to apply science, best practice in football. And we've been using the 6 steps that Martin Boucher recommend. So the first one is to have the match microcycle periodization. The second one is to mapping opportunity windows regarding rest, recovery, and compensation. Also have weekly high-speed running and achieve 95% of top speed exposure. The 5th step will be strength microdoses and also individualized KPIs. So this is a very important step that we use to have our strength conditioning goals in an individualized manner. The 5th step is to have MDT internal workload monitoring. So we have a matrix combining internal workload with external workload. And finally, we have to embrace chaos, as I said, which is not easy. So if we are talking about MDT team, we need to develop people. So I'll be talking a little bit, how can we improve our MDT work? So the first thing we have to have in mind is to regarding the soft skills. So our MDT team needs to know how to work, how to do teamwork, better communication. They need to have adaptability, also conflict resolution, and finally, leadership. The idea is to have everyone in the anti-fragile mindset, which means that we need to benefit from disorder and not damaged by disorder. And this is the main goal that I'm trying to develop people, because we need to have a growth mindset, which means that failure is a great opportunity to grow and not lead and not deal with error like a bad thing. And the second step is to develop the technical skills to do football and to do performance and health in football. So we need to plan, we need to have a very good skills to performance and health problem solving. Also, of course, knowledge in performance and health, football technologies, and also risk management. And we are doing this with a lot of consistency, good communication, clear goals, and planning a lot. Planning to have different scenarios and also to help players to improve themselves. So thank you so much. I'll be open to all the questions, and I think this is a very quick presentation because I believe that we need to discuss and getting deep in more topics. Thank you so much.
You do it. Thank you, Natalia. Nice insight into how you organize things in Brazil at your club, from scratch, to be honest, if I heard your story well. Very insightful. Markus, welcome back as well. Thank you for waiting. Again, I invite all listeners on this webinar to post any questions or comments they might have into the comments. We're monitoring them and we will ask them to Natalia and Markus. There's one already in there, and I will throw them at you. Do you have any recommendations to strengthen ties with coaches, or how to deal with a complicated coach staff? That's a question from Paola Lopez Tapia. Can you reflect a little bit on that?
Shall I start? Or ladies first?
Okay. Thank you, Markus. Great question. I know this is not easy. We have different scenarios when we are dealing with complicated coach staff. So when I have this situation, I try to show all the risk regarding the plan E, plan B, and plan C. So open the discussion with the coach. So, and also talking about what Markus said, that we are not competing and we are together. So I used to say to the doctor that if some player get injured, if we decide the plan E, we are together on that. So it's important to have everyone on the same page. So my final recommendation around this question would be open the risks and have different scenarios and help the coach decide with you, because they will start reflecting. Maybe on the first time they will decide by themselves, and then you will probably have negative results because of that, and then you can help them to see with different perspectives.
Markus, anything to add?
Yes, I would say it's not possible to have complicated coaches. When you say they are complicated, at first it's your problem. But of course, I'm not a physiologist. Let's say at least there should be the chance that the coach wants to talk to you, that he wants to communicate with you. And then the first thing would be to show him that the aim is to present him the most or the highest number as possible of healthy players that he can do his training. This the thing that we, I think, have to tell the coaches, and that we are not the one who comes every day and takes away the players and destroys tactical things and training what they want to do. This happens because this is professional work, and but at the end, the aim is that he has a fit player at least 2 or 1 days before a match, and full available player to a match. So and if a coach understands this, and if we are, like Natalia said, we are open for the ideas of the coaches, and to learn what they think, then this is the first step.
And so basically what you're saying, Markus, is communication about player availability is a strong asset you have in your pocket.
Yes, and that we, of course, we don't come in the morning to a club and say, oh, which knee can I destroy today, or which back can I take out today? And this is not our work. It's just we are just a service, and with the availability, we just want to have success. And this is, I think, the thing that a coach has to have, that he is the one who is responsible for the success. But there are some publications that when a coach has the highest availability of players, then the chance to have success is the highest too. And so I think we can, this is what we can teach the coaches, that we have the same aim like them, because then life is easier and we are all happy.
Yeah. And a question related to this maybe, and then maybe I'll ask Natalia first to react to this one. The coaches come from everywhere. So you also have cross-cultural differences potentially in terms of communication. Probably that's, you deal with that, Natalia, I think, a lot in Bahia, also with players potentially. Can you explore that a little bit further, how you deal with those cultural differences in not only a multidisciplinary, but also a multicultural organization?
Good question. I think this is quite difficult, but I think when we have a clear goal and a clear KPI regarding what we need to achieve as a group, not a only multidisciplinary team, we have to open the discussion and bring some scientific information that will help everyone talk about the same goal, and we have everyone on the same page. So I would say that would be the basics. So bring some scientific information and have everyone listening everyone. So if you are from Chile or if you are from Portugal, how would you do? So I think this is important to have everyone engaged and listening to everyone. So I think when you put everyone on the same page and be open to their perspective, it's a nice tip to get everyone on the same page. And everyone in the same boat, navigating together. This is the difficult part.
Yeah, I understand. And maybe, and this should be potentially a topic for a whole different webinar. The medical handovers between club and national teams. That's also part of your multidisciplinary work, I must assume. Markus, can you maybe say a few sentences about how that reflects on your management approach?
You mean when we have communication with
national team
doctors from countries that are not so cold like Germans, but more impulsive, like in Brazil or Portugal. Yes, of course.
Yeah, for instance.
Yes. There are, of course, often emotions in soccer, and the doctors of the national teams have the same coaches like we have, that are under high pressure too, and they always want information. And so, for example, now I think next week, there will start another national team period, and I have on my mobile already from 10 different national team coaches that they want to know how the player is, although we still have 2 matches. And I know they have patience with me, that I am not able to answer everything immediately. And on the other hand, we know in our club that we have to get the informations during the national team period, and especially when it ends, like they want it now. And so we try to have a very good communication. And we know that sometimes when we say we cannot give you this player because he's injured, that there is a question of trust. Is he really injured, or why does he should not come? So we are very transparent. We give information about the load, what we have in training, or when he is out, when there is an injury, we give the injury information. Of course, the player always has to agree that we, let's say, are free to talk about his disease and his injury. And so we give as early as possible all this information about the health and performance abilities of the player to the national team. And often we find constructive in communication solutions for the player, for national team, and for the club.
Yeah, I see the challenges there. Thank you, Markus, for that piece of information. It seems we have a bit of a Brazilian contingency today because Natalia has gathered a crowd for us. There's another question from that region, Marcela Gomida. She asked a little bit about what your main challenges are in injury prevention at your club, or maybe in general in that communication, because we've been talking about injured players and keeping them out, but how do you deal with injury prevention, which is a whole different game probably. Natalia, can I look at you first?
Sure. Thank you, Marcelo, for your question. So right now, I think one of the main challenges to have to deal with the athlete's mindset. So here in Brazil, we have some myths around prevention, and some players, for example, they don't want to do strength exercise. So it's crazy because we know that how it's important to have these exercise with the players. So we need to have just educate the players, of course, and show the good results with different players, because we have always some players that love to do strength and we have good examples. So we need to educate them. So we need to have patience, show some results, talk with their language, because sometimes we do talk with them using health and performance language, not players' language. So it's important to have empathy, to understand what they are thinking about, what is prevention, what is strength, and what is strength is going to help them and not have negative effect on training sessions. So some players think that they're doing strength, we will decrease the speed during the training session. So we need to talk with them and having them inside with us. So it's not easy. So I think the most challenge, the biggest challenge right now is to change the player's mindset.
So if I translate a little bit from what we heard earlier, when you talk with the coach, player availability is the strong keyword, but when you talk to the player, performance is a strong keyword to use?
Yes, for sure.
That's a really brief summary maybe, but okay.
Yeah, because players want to train, so they want to be available, and of course we need to talk with them about using performance language, not injury language.
Yeah, the difficult to switch between all these roles, of course. Markus, anything to add to this?
Yes, let's say in summary, we try to avoid a frequent over or underload of a player, of a healthy player when we talk about prevention. And so let's say we have a profile, individual profile of every player, depending on the position where he plays and what is individual requirement profile for this player and what he brings. And then we, with what I showed, and Natalie presented some of these things too, when we do our monitoring before training, that we try to arrange the player. Is he in green, yellow, or red? And explain it to the player. Is fact-based, and to the coach too. And then there are some individual modified training tools we will give to the player. But the main aim is always, and this is another important thing for the coaches, that we try to give this player into the training. And when you get in a good communication with the coach, then often the coach decided, okay, you said this player had so many sprints in the last match and he needs 1 day more recovery. Then I take him into the training, but at the end he will put out, and then he has some more recovery. Or when we say there are some players that have bad results in our monitoring strength test, and we don't find a reason for that, and we think they can do more strengths, then we try to convince the coach and the player do it after a training or after a match. And the same is with sprints, not enough sprints or too much sprints. So we just try to have our database to give this recommendations, but with the aim to have the player in the squad for the training.
Got it. It seems that your answers, both of you, trigger a few questions about workload management as well. How well are you invested in the workload management of the players? Do you communicate with the fitness coach? Do you use session RPE? What do you do in that relationship? Maybe look at you again first, Natalia, just to keep it ping-ponging.
We are really tough on that because I think it's one of the key variables that we need to understand regarding all the web of determinants, all the complexity. So we use GPS and we also use RPA. And also we need to have clear metrics during the microcycle. So during the week, we have to have some alerts, some question marks, and some red flags that we need to have a clear communication with the fitness coach, with the head coach. So we are doing this online, ongoing process with the physiologist, with the fitness coach, and also the head coach. And regarding the youth, because we don't have GPS for every player, so we need to educate them how to reply to the questionnaire, well-being questionnaire, and also RPE. So it's an ongoing process, and of course we need to have also the monitoring and objective metrics, not only subjective. So it's important to have all the metrics: acceleration, sprints, top speed, and also understand what is the internal workload, what is the player's response for the external workload, which means maybe it's the most important part. It's combination between internal and external workload.
Yeah. Hey, Markus, a question to you. So I don't give all the questions first to Natalia. A little bit different, because when we think about the medical team, the people listening to this webinar probably don't think that, but you treat players, you rehabilitate players. You're a medical doctor, so you have a medical mandate. That's fine. Now we talk about workload management, so you have a role to play there. And the topic of this webinar is about navigating the multidisciplinary team, so a little bit of people's management. And these are probably three completely important constructs that are a little bit apart from each other. But how much percent is actually medical? How much is management of workload and risks, and how much is actually managing your team in your daily practice?
It depends on when you talk about healthy players or you talk about injured players that need.
Just say in general, like if you yes. are in your position, right?
Yes.
And we talk about management here. How important is that in relation to the other jobs you're doing?
Yeah, as I started, it depends on the player's health and abilities to performance. And of course, if there are medical problems, it's more me who has to decide what is the diagnosis and how is rehabilitation time, how will be the healing process, and so on. But of course, when we talk about load management, I have to be educated. This is the thing. So we educate each other, the physiotherapists, osteopathic staff, etc. They educate me, and I educate them. And so we just bring it together. So this is a teamwork. And it's a little bit like I said, some people from outside, they say, you are head of the medical team. Why we have so much injuries? Why is there not enough sprint in a match or something like this? Yes, and of course, then I take the responsibility. Yes, it's me as a head. But it is like I say, yes, we educate each other and try to find individually the best solution for this player to have the best performance.
So it's tailored to the individuals, and sometimes it's more management, and sometimes it's more of something else. Okay, that makes your days really compelling, isn't it? You don't know what's
Yes.
going to happen today or tomorrow.
No,
Yeah.
no.
And maybe going a little bit into technology, which also touches, I think, upon all the three things that I just posed to you, Markus. Do you use any wearables to track sleep, health, well-being, illnesses, and how does that inform you in helping the players? I see you smile already. So.
Yes, I smile. I smile because you know what I would say. No, yes, we use, and of course, this is something as a oracle, as a secret part of I think every club. And but we use it, and what I learned or what I know, that there is not a lot of evidence. So we just and we know this, and so every club, I think, built his own tools, of course, with a lot of technology, and to find, as I said, biomarkers to get a view over the player from psychological side, from immunological side, and from the musculoskeletal side. And there are so many more when I talk to people in our club, starting with genome and epigenetics and microbiome and there I close. I talk too much because I'm not competent in all these things, and there are some secrets, but of course we work with this.
You don't have to share any secrets, Markus. That's fine. That's fine. Natalia, there's a question directly directed at you. I'll put it on the screen here. Of course, we are quite blessed here in Europe with multidisciplinary teams, but not everywhere in the world we have the luxury of many professions within a club, and this is where this question comes from. What is the role of an exercise physiologist? Because in India, they don't have these roles in teams defined. Should they have these roles defined, or what does it add or what does it not add? Can you reflect on that?
Sure. I think maybe I can bring some non-football sports experience, because I used to work with volleyball and gymnastics, and also we didn't have physiologists at that time, like 20 years ago. So the physical coach or the strength conditioning was responsible to monitoring the load. So it was like a branch from the physical coach. So I think over the years they developed this specific guy, but 20 years ago, the physical coach used to do that. So I think it's important to have taken account all this cultural difference. But right now in football, it's really important to have a physiologist, because he's the guy responsible for load management. So he's my right arm. So right now I have a very strong physiologist that helps me to understand, interpret, and also talk with the head coach. So right now it's a very important role in football, and I think it's evolving a lot. And the main thing I believe is that they are really, it's the data, almost like a data scientist in the pitch, because they are really smart, they know a lot of data, but they have the football knowledge too. So I think this is a key role right now, and we need to help them to develop and bring new ideas, bring new concepts, because I think beyond technology, I think the most important challenge right now is integrate all the technology, all the data, and bring the relevant information and how it will bring the magic. The magic, when I say, it's like having the better answer for our questions. So I think I don't want to have all the technology if we don't know how to interpret it and how to integrate all the data. So if I could say, I think we need to do the basics first, and do the basics. It's not easy.
No, it's difficult, but not impossible, right?
Sure.
Another question for you, Natalia, and I got 3 more questions to round this up a little bit, and I will ping pong them across the 2 of you. So the first one: what is one piece of advice that you would give to other sports medicine professionals about managing the health of a football player in a multidisciplinary team setting? One take-home message.
Take-home message. I think not just to split performance and health. We need to work together. So sometimes the strength conditioning guy will be the most important guy in our health room, and head coach, and listen to the players. I think would be the 3 pillars.
3 pillars. Awesome. Markus, different question for you. Looking back at your career, what is the most rewarding part of working as a medical professional in a football club?
Most rewarding part, or what do you mean?
Something in the last 20 years, and you reflect back where you say, I'm really happy that I've been able to experience this.
Let's say that what we talk about, it is the teamwork, that you work with a medical team and athletic performance team together with young players that are very often very ambitious and like to get healthy, and that everyone tries to do his best in his team's issues to solve the problems together. So this is a very good experience to have.
Okay. And then the same question for both of you, the last one. I'll start with you, Markus. If you look ahead into the future, what is one thing you'd like to change in terms of improving communications in a multidisciplinary team?
This is what we start now here. I think there will be no coaches listening or be here part of it. But let's say that it comes to a usual normal thing that in a club there is something, what I said, risk management system. And the coaches know already, okay, these persons are the professional risk managers. Of course, we have other duties, but especially when you start a season with preseason traveling and in other countries, lack of sleep and a lot of matches, and you get in early phase a lot of injuries, that this coach knows, okay, here are some people that just fix these problems to reduce the risk factors. And when there is another coach coming in September or October, that he knows, okay, this and this clubs are the people where I can go to, or they will come when we have high injury rates.
Thank you. And Natalia, same question for you. Looking ahead in the future, what is one thing you'd like to change to make your life easier in the club or in a club setting?
Wow, actually, I think I would have the AI help to help us to predict injuries. Maybe, because I started doing that in my PhD, and right now we don't have too much things to add. So I will explore artificial intelligence.
So there's many things ahead of us. Let's be clear about that. Okay.
For sure.
Given time, I would like to thank you both for your insightful presentations, but also this very nice discussion. I think we can talk about this for hours if we need to. We just have 1 hour. I think we scribbled down some additional topics that we would like to focus on in the future in other webinars. So maybe we see you back. But for now, thank you for your time and thank you for your insights.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yep. So that was today's webinar on navigating the multidisciplinary team. Thank you all for tuning in. Our next one in October is more clinical. That one will be about syndesmosis injuries. We will prepare some cases, and we will throw these cases at orthopedic surgeon and a physical therapist in a club setting, and they will guide us to their approaches on how to deal with these cases. Now, we know syndesmosis injuries are not the most common injuries you will encounter. They are on the rise, though, if we look at the numbers, and they are pretty severe. So we thought it might be useful to have a look at that. More clinical, like I said, but probably something we also should explore a little bit with these webinars. Maybe some last thing to say. It was already mentioned in the chat. In February, we will have the Medical Symposium, 4 to 6 February 2025 in Lugano in Switzerland. Registrations will hopefully open this week. We're making some last adjustments to the system. Scribble the dates down, please. It's not only for medical doctors. We also open it this year for physical therapists, and it will be all practical sessions on various topics around medical health and football, with a focus, of course, because of the Women's Euro in Switzerland in 2025 on the female player. More on that to be found on our website, and more on that also through our social media channels and in next webinar as well, of course. So for now, thank you much for listening, and I wish you all a pleasant day or evening wherever you are in the world, and hope to see you in October.